as we look out across the south end of Salt Creek Beach Park, we see the Dana Point Headlands in the distance, behind which Dana Point Harbor is constructed. And it was during the modernization of the general plan of the County of Orange in 1979 that in the open space element, we designated numerous high-priority open space preservation areas, such as the Bolsa Chica, Upper Newport Bay, Casper's Audubon area, Limestone Whiting. One of them was the Dana Point Headlands. And although we never had a proposed regional park in our master plan on the Headlands, as things played out in the long run, when the developers got underway, once the city of Dana Point was incorporated, the numerous foundations, private charitable trusts, and various state agencies came up with the funding to purchase most of the land on the Dana Point Headlands in an ecological preserve, and the large private beach in the distance was Private Beach. Silver Strand was owned by the Chandler Sherman Foundation, and Otis Chandler, who was the publisher of the Los Angeles Times, actually had a trailer on the beach down there, and we were able to recommend successfully to the city of Dana Point that they require the developer to dedicate Silver Strand Beach as an addition to Salt Creek Beach Park. So the 45 acres of Salt Creek Beach Park was significantly increased by approximately another 10 acres of beach. And then on top of that, there's Tidelands beaches in the foreground that are the property of the people of the state of California. It's Wednesday, May 10th, 2017, and Harry and I are back out on the trail filling in some missing videos for the History of Orange County Parks program. And today we're at Dana Point Harbor. And in the early 1920s, the Skidmore family of Laguna Beach bought land in the Lantern Bay district here in Dana Point from Blanche Dahl and established the Lantern Bay tract map that showed individual home lots atop the bluff tops and along the streets. But also there on that map was an implied dedication of a public recreation or park area both on the bluff face and down along the toe of the bluffs, where the historic Scenic Inn was constructed of native San Onofre breccia stone by the Seaman brothers of Laguna Beach. As fate would have it, however, hard financial times fell upon the Skidmores, and they lost not only the Lantern District tract, but also the Coast Royale tract in Laguna Beach. A developer named Woodruff stepped in and attempted to build a bluff top resort hotel, which went unfinished due to another economic downturn, which the remnants are, you can see here in the film. In the early 1800s, Richard Henry Dana sailed up the California coast on the ship the Pilgrim, which one day dropped anchor behind this promontory of land, which was later named in his honor, the Dana Point Headlands. One of the greatest accomplishments in the history of the Orange County Park System was the transfer of the state public tidelands to Orange County as trustee in 1911. But unlike today, where the names of my colleagues and my staff and myself are known, we don't know who the mastermind of the tidelands transfer was and who did the work to get it done. But nevertheless, the tidelands essentially gave birth to the Harbor District, which was approved by public vote in 1934, which later gave birth to Dana Point Harbor and Newport Harbor and Sunset Harbor. And the Harbor District was broadened to become the Harbors and Beaches District in 1948 to embrace, and then subsequently to the Harbors, Beaches, and Parks District to embrace the whole Orange County Park System. In 1949, the coastal engineer R.L. Patterson of Newport Beach did the original harbor master plan with three alternatives. Construction of Dana Point Harbor got underway in 1968 when the Army Corps of Engineers constructed the breakwater with giant stones quarried from Catalina Island, which were brought down Cove Road in giant trucks and set into place with barges. And the construction of the harbor itself was finished in 1970. And like I mentioned, with the buildings, so many buildings being built at the same time at Miles Square Regional Park and Mason in the 70s, they began to show deterioration after about 40 years. And so around the year 2000, we got underway with plans to revitalize and redevelop Dana Point Harbor. And that revitalization effort has been underway ever since then. In fact, it's been 17 years since 2000, and they're still in planning and engineering and financing stages for the revitalization of the harbor, including the east and west boat basins, and a future dry boat storage facility, and redeveloping the restaurants and the commercial areas. The one thing that we were able to get done before I retired was construction of a major new public boat launch for the people who trailer their boats from the inland to this location in the harbor so that they can go out to sea. And a $50 million Department of Boating and Waterways loan, low interest loan, was secured by our grants officers Grace Dove, Barbara Dorr, and Tom Townsend. To my knowledge, those funds have not yet been spent. And we're here now in another of the local neighborhood parks that we established at Orange County Harbors, Beaches, and Parks for the future incorporated city of Dana Point, overlooking Dana Point Harbor. was back in 1949 when the seeds of shoreline recreation were planted with the Harbor District's purchase of small parcels both here in Dana Point and at Aliso Beach that would set the tone for the growth and expansion of the county's shoreline facilities. So today, Dana Point Harbor embraces approximately 400 acres, 34 acres of which are shoreline recreation facilities, and the rest are tidelands in the harbor itself. Between 1965 and 1982, the Orange County Harbors, Beaches, and Parks District acquired more landside parcels, culminating in Lantern Bay Park from a dedication from the Smythe Brothers Development Company that encompasses 16½ acres. You know, we lost the original footage for Dana Point Harbor that Harry Huggins took in 2005. And it's unfortunate because that featured the Harbors, Beaches, and Parks Commissioner E. Llewellyn Overholt, who was an Anaheim City Council member. And Overholt grew up on Harbor Island in between the homes of the world-famous violinist Jascha Heifetz and none other than the president of the Friends of Harbors, Beaches, and Parks, Gene Watt. And Overholt knew all too well how powerful the magnetic draw that the Orange County coast would exert on millions of people, both today, in the past, and forever into the future. He was one of the people who led the charge to enhance and expand Dana Point Harbor's recreation and educational attractions that culminated in the Ocean Institute and the Youth and Group Facility.
Project to work on this, to survey all of our parkland acquisition history. It's going to be beneficial, I hope, for the staff in the future.
And what we're doing here is catching the guy that really did all the grunt work on this project, Mr. Harry Huggins, who I had the pleasure of hiring to come to work for Harbors, Beaches, and Parks as an illustrious planner, and became an acquisitions and assets manager for the modern day Orange County Parks Department. How many years have you been retired now, Harry?
27 years I worked at the county, and I've been retired 3 years, 3 months.
3 years and 3 months. And guess what he used to be at one time? He used to be the executive assistant to the chief of police of the city of Irvine, named Leo Pert. Was that his name?
Yes, it was. And before that, the assistant to the police chief in Garden Grove.
Yeah.
Frank Kessler.
Right. Okay.
Special projects.
So Harry, that's why you see Harry in the credits, because he's done all the video stuff. And he found the videos after they were misplaced, which is why we're able to finish this project today.
Thank you, Eric.
I'm going to just extemporaneously mention about this statue. When the developer here for the Admiralty condominiums was proposing their project, my staff required that they set the buildings back further from the bluff and install a bluff top trail with some overlooks. And then we required them to install, in conjunction with the Dana Point community, wanted some local artwork. So there was some discussion about it, and by pure coincidence, I had 5 classes in California history at Long Beach State. And one year in the final, there was a 50-point bonus question. And the question was, what did they call the name of the guys that threw the dry hides from Mission San Juan Capistrano off the cliffs into what was the Dana Point Headlands area? And the answer was a hide droger. And I knew that, and I got 50 extra bonus points. And because of that, we required the Admiralty to have a statue of a hide droger. And that's what this guy is doing. He's throwing the hardened hides from the cattle of the Mission San Juan Capistrano over the cliffs to the sailors of the Pilgrim and other ships from New England, taking them back east. The Orange County Board of Supervisors unanimously adopted a resolution directing harbors, beaches, and parks to become very aggressive in seeking to establish more coastal recreation facilities. And this was out of recognition of the fact that all of the county residents go to the beach. It doesn't make any difference whether they live inland or in the central county or at the beach. And so with that action, harbors, beaches, and parks moved ahead to establish this next facility where we're here today, Capistrano Beach Park, which had its inception in 1972 and consists of 8 acres of land purchased from United California Bank in 3 parcels. The property had been fenced off from the coast highway by an old rusted chain link fence, which the public persisted in trespassing by cutting holes in the fence. And so the original name of the park was called Hole in the Fence Beach. And you can see we have a nice beach here, as well as active recreation facilities such as the basketball facility. And in the distance, up on the bluff tops, you get to see a relationship that we sought to establish often in all of our regional facilities, many times placing them near local recreation facilities. Up on the bluff where the pine trees are is Pine Bluff Park, which is a community park in the Capo Beach area of Dana Point. And it brings to mind that even though the subject of this DVD is the history of the regional harbors, beaches, and parks system, it was the same department that worked very hard to establish neighborhood and community parks in what were then the unincorporated communities of Mission Viejo and Dana Point and Lake Forest and Laguna Hills and North Tustin, such that we established over 100 neighborhood and community parks totaling around 1,200 acres. are at Poche Beach in the city of Dana Point. And actually this beach had its inception in April 15th, 1983, when the Smythe Brothers Development Company, who also dedicated Lantern Bay Park to us overlooking Dana Point Harbor, dedicated this beach in return for entitlements to build the 2 adjacent homes. And it's 1 acre in size, just under an acre, and it sits right at the mouth of Prima Creek, which, by the way, it used to be called Prima Beach. The name Poche takes its name from an old historic railway stop that used to be located at this location. And in the distance you can see the Dana Point Headlands. As you look up the coast in front of the homes along Beach Road here in Capistrano Beach, there's a program underway where a series of scores and scores of lateral beach easements are falling into place so that ultimately Poche Beach one day will be linked physically with Capistrano Beach Park at the other end of Beach Road. We're at Calafia Beach Park, which is our southerlymost regional recreation facility in the entire county, very close to the San Diego county border. And in 1988, the county entered into a lease agreement with the State Department of Parks and Recreation to lease this, what was then undeveloped corner of San Clemente State Beach Park. And so we leased it from them and then entered into an operating agreement with the city of San Clemente, whereby the county would construct the improvements at harbors, beaches, and parks cost, and then have the city of San Clemente operate and maintain the facility at no expense to harbors, beaches, and parks. Calafia Beach Park consists of 8 acres of land in approximately 4 separate parcels. There's one more category of land earmarked for future regional parks: Orange County landfills. We have Prima Deshecha on the master plan of regional parks. The Bowerman landfill here at Limestone Canyon. And in the North County, Way up by Carbon Canyon Regional Park and Chino Hills State Park, we have the Olinda Regional Park landfill. And these are earmarked for future regional parks after they've been capped and remediated and will ultimately be converted to a variety of uses, including golf courses, skateboard parks, and whatever unknown, popular at the time, recreational pursuits there may be in the future. For example, we've already had an acquisition of land here in this dark green to add to the Olinda Regional Park site. Some of the older landfills, such as the Santiago landfill here between Irvine Park and Irvine Lake, the Coyote Canyon landfill that used to serve the coastal county area were long closed and capped years ago and have been refurbished and turned into wildlife habitat sites. Other lands await the opportunity to become future parklands in the future. And some of these include polluted industrial sites or pristine lands along the skirt of the Cleveland National Forest. It's up to future generations of Orange County Parks planners, designers, and rangers to keep the system flourishing and growing, just like the founders of the Harbor District did, and those who evolved that district from Harbor District to Harbors, Beaches, and Parks District, creating opportunities for my colleagues and myself to expand from 7,000 acres to 60,000 acres.
This program is among the efforts recognized in the Lifetime Achievement Award from the President of the United States in 2015. Supplemental information on the history of the Orange County Park System is included in the California State University Fullerton Center for Oral and Public History, interview number 2061 of Eric Jessen by Joanna Brand, published in 2008.